We are going to start our relaxation flow today, so you're not going to need any extra equipment today, so come on your backs. You ready? Yeah. So today is all about relaxation, so we want to just switch our minds off from everything that's been stressing you out this week or worrying you. So I'm just going to focus on our breath and our positions today. So move the camera. So start laying your backs. We're just going to work on our connection first of all. So think about what we're feeling connected between our bodies and the floor. So we should be feeling both our feet, the lumbosacral junction, TL junction, and the back of both shoulder blades and the back of the head. So to get better connected, we'll start with the feet. So we're just going to think of whereabouts we're feeling the pressure underneath our feet. Are we feeling it more on the left or the right foot? So whichever foot you're feeling it more on, you're just going to shift the weight slightly to the opposite foot and just go backwards and forwards until you feel like you've got better connection underneath both your feet. Then we want to think about where underneath our foot we're feeling that connection. Are you feeling it more on the outside or the inside? So if you're feeling it more on the outside of your foot, I just want you to think about trying to bring that inner part down towards the floor without lifting the outer part. So keep your knees pointed towards the ceiling and try and keep your ankles neutral. So we're just going to try and bring that inner arch down towards the floor. If you're feeling it more on the inside, again you're going to keep your knees pointed to the ceiling, ankles neutral, but try and bring that outer arch down towards the floor. But you're going to keep that big toe planted into the floor. Then we're going to think about our lumbosacral junction. So I want you to start by trying to peel your spine away from the floor. So your pelvis will be going into an anterior tilt. And then you're going to reverse peel. So you're going to reverse peel your spine into the floor and your pelvis will be going into a posterior tilt. Then we're going to go anterior with the pelvis, posterior, so just rocking backwards and forwards, feeling that movement through the spine. And then we're going to pause in the midpoint between the two end ranges. So your lower back should be nice and neutral now, and so should your pelvis. So you should be feeling more connection underneath your lumbosacral junction. Then we're going to work our way up to the TL junction. So we want to think of our rib cage and pelvis like the pages of a book. So if you find that you're more in this open book appearance, where you'll have this rib flaring and lumbar extension, so just put your hands on your rib cage if you need to, just feel what's going on there. If you feel like you've got that, we want to try and think of pulling the pages together so your rib cage and pelvis are in line with each other, so they're parallel. And that should bring the rib cage down so they're not in that flared position anymore. And you should be feeling more connected underneath your TL junction. Now you're going to move your way up to your shoulder blades. So again, you're going to just shift the weight from side to side, trying to think about getting equal balance between the left and right shoulder blade. And then think about your shoulders. So we don't want elevation and protraction, internal rotation. We want to try and bring the shoulder blades towards the floor, externally rotate and depress. So we're trying to pull the shoulder blades down towards the back pocket on the same side. And now work our way up to the head. Your head wants to push straight back down towards the floor. We don't want any neck extension or any flexion, so it's going straight back down. You should feel those muscles at the front of the neck come alive a little bit more. Okay, so just take a little second to just think about that connection. Think about how it felt before and how it feels now. And you should be feeling that connection underneath your feet, lumbosacral junction, TL junction, both shoulder blades and the back of the head now. Okay, so put one hand on your chest, one hand on your tummy, and we are going to focus on our breath. So focus on when we take a breath in, the hand on the tummy lifting, and then on the breath out, the hand on the tummy lowering. The hand on the chest shouldn't move anywhere. So really try and bring your thoughts to your breath and what's happening in your tummy. Try and just let any of the thoughts that keep popping up in your head, just try and bring your thoughts back to your breath every time you feel your mind wandering. So use this time as a meditation, a bit of meditation, because I know you can all do this. So we're just thinking about our breath, thinking about that hand on the tummy lifting and lowering. A couple more breaths. Okay, so now you're going to put your hands around your waist. So we want to create our 360-degree breath. So as we breathe in, the hands on the tummy, hands under the abdomen should expand outwards as we're breathing in, and then relax as we're breathing out. So take a breath in. Try and think about what's happening. Do you feel all the muscles under your hands, front, back and sides, expanding and pushing your hands away? Try and focus on whether you feel it equal from side to side and from front to back. If you're not feeling it equal, try and pause and think about the area that you're not feeling it as much. And really concentrate on inflating those muscles. Try and wake the connection up between your brain and your muscles. So to do that, you can cough. So if you feel like you're struggling, just give a little cough and feel that expansion, and now really try and hone in on that area and inflate. And we're trying to create a nice smooth cylinder around the waist. So imagine you've got a ball inside your abdomen, and with every breath that you take in, you're trying to inflate that ball or a balloon a little bit more and a little bit more each time. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, like you're blowing through a straw. A couple more breaths before we create our brace. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to now create our brace. So it's not a clench or a tense, and we're not pulling the belly button towards the spine. It's an outward push. So you're going to create your 360 breath. And before you take your breath out, I want you to just create that feeling like when you're about to fart. It's an outward expansion and an outward push. And try not to let the muscles completely relax as you're breathing out. And now try and keep that activation of those muscles on each breath in and out now. So this is what you're going to need to be able to do when you are doing something that needs more stabilisation. So when you're carrying something heavy or picking something up. Just do a couple more of these breaths. So everything's going to be really nice and slow and controlled today. So we're going to create our 360 breath and our brace, and we're just going to go straight into a double leg lift and double arm lift at the same time. So create your breath and your brace, and then lift both arms and both legs, and just take your arms as far back as you can where you don't feel your ribs lift up, and then you're going to lower them back down slowly. If you can't do that, if your back doesn't allow that, it's absolutely fine to just do single leg lifts. And just go between lifting the legs and arms and then lowering. Really slow and controlled, focusing on making sure that the pelvis doesn't move as we're lifting and lowering. Think about your breath. Think about the movement, nice, slow and controlled. Think about what muscles you need to be able to use to keep that pelvis from tilting forwards. Just do one or two more if you can. And then just pause in your 3-month supine position. So 3-month supine, feet are going to be higher than the knees, ankles neutral, knees over the hips, hips in external rotation and abduction. And just really focus on your breathing. And if you need to, you can pop your legs up on the sofa or on a chair or on a ball. If your back is not up to keeping your legs in the air without going into that extension or just shaking, just rest your legs up on something. But if not, we're just going to hold this position and just focus on the breath and focus on the expansion. Do 5 to 10 more seconds. And then bring your knees into your chest, just curl it up into a little ball. And we're just going to hold this position and just think about your breath. Feel the stretch down the back. And then with every breath that you take in, you're going to feel that expansion and those muscles just pressing down into the floor. And then you're going to feel the front of the tummy sort of pressing up into your thighs. one more breath. Bring your legs back into the 3-month supine, fingertips pointed to the ceiling. And we're just going to do some rolls now, but we're going to slow them right down. So lift your head slightly, look to the direction you're going to turn, and we're just going to slowly move onto the side. And then slowly bring yourself back. Making sure that the shoulders and the pelvis move at the same time. So slowly from side to side. Also make sure that your spine stays nice and straight, so we're not losing it here and going into this banana body. Keep breathing and focusing on your breath and focusing on creating a bit of outward pressure, so a bit of a brace to help control that movement. Try and imagine that you're reaching for something with this top hand. And then we're just going to roll onto one side and lift up into our lower oblique sit. And then we're just going to put both hands down on the floor. So we're going to twist into that lower oblique sit. So bring round, so feel that rotation through the spine. We're going to keep the shoulders active. And just focus on your breath. So hold this position. Make sure the shoulders aren't coming up by the ears, so we want to pull the shoulders down towards the back pockets. Come up into your high oblique sit and twist, high oblique sit twist. Nice and long through the spine. Try not to let yourself round. Keep the neck nice and long. Try not to let the head come forwards or go back into extension. And then you're going to lift your bum up and pull yourself into the pigeon stretch. And then we're just going to come down onto our forearms again and just rest the head down as far as you can, and we're just holding this position. Feel that stretch in the bum. Feel that breath. And then come up onto your hand, both hands again. Curl the back foot under. Bring that leg through, down into a downward dog. And just hold that downward dog position. Make sure you're folding at the hip and trying to be nice and as long as you can through your spine. and then pull the other leg through into your pigeon stretch. And then come down as far as you can come with your head and just feel that stretch in that opposite bum cheek. And breathe. Nice deep breaths into the abdomen. And then bring that back leg in, so you're pulling yourself into your high oblique sit. And we're just in that high oblique twist. So feel that rotation through the spine. Nice long spine, nice long neck. Make sure the shoulders are nice and active, don't let those lift up. Now come down onto both your forearms again. Try and pull your mind to your breath. Try not to let it think about anything that you've been thinking about or worried about this week. Don't think about what you're having for your lunch. Think about your breath. Okay, put your hands both back on the floor again, and we're just going to go back into a pigeon stretch. And we're going to curl the back foot under and go into downward dog again. And we're just going to do some alternating downward dog to opposite pigeon stretch. But a nice active pigeon stretch this time. So shoulders active, nice and long through the spine. And then into your downward dog. So just in your own time, alternate between downward dog and opposite pigeon stretch. Each time you go into your downward dog, fold at the hip. Try and make your spine as nice as long as possible. But keeping the rib cage and pelvis connected. So don't let your pelvis and rib cage disengage. You'll feel the rib cage starting to flare. Just do a couple more. And the next time you go into your downward dog, you're then going to come down into a bear. And then knees down to the floor, into your quadruped, down into your lower quadruped, and extend both your legs away and rest your head down onto the floor. So we're in the 3-month prone position. So we need to get ourselves set up. So we want to make sure that we've got your neutral pelvis and lower back. So again, you're going to do your pelvic tilts. And the way you're going to know if you've got your neutral pelvis and lower back is if your pubic bone is pushing into the floor. So your pubic bone will feel more connected with the floor when you're in that neutral position. Try not to squeeze the glutes together though. Make sure that the rib cage and the pelvis are connected. So if you feel like your rib cage is pushing down into the floor, then you're not connected. You want to pull the rib cage and pelvis into connection. Active shoulders again, so keep the shoulders back and down, so into external rotation and depression, so they're not up by your ears. So pull those down, so imagine the shoulder blades going to the back pocket. And then what you're going to do is we're just going to lift the head off the floor, but keeping that neutral pelvis and lower back. Don't let your lower back extend. So the pubic bone wants to stay on the floor. If you can feel your lower back, if it's sore, you're not keeping your pelvis neutral. We don't want to just push up and extend through the lower back. That's not the aim of this. We want to try and push the forearms down into the floor, keeping the shoulders active and neck nice and long. And the lower back should stay neutral. And we're just going to try and hold this position, activating through the shoulders. This is really, really nice one to get that shoulder activation. And just thinking about the breath. Don't hold it for too long if you feel like your position's going out of place. So you're just going to sort of lift and lower and then reset. Make sure your pelvis is neutral and lift. If you can't lift without your lower back hurting, just stay down with your head on the floor, but just activate the shoulders and keep the position in the pelvis and rib cage. So you don't have to go into that lumbar extension. Focus on your breath as well. Don't forget your 360 breath. Okay, have a rest from that one. Bring your hands into your sides so that you can lift yourself up. We're going to go into our low quadruped position. Make sure you've got your neutral lower back. Make sure we've got a nice long spine. So if you're like me and quite rounded through your upper back, you're going to want to try and pull your upper back towards the floor. But if you're quite flat through your upper back, you're going to want to try and push the floor away, lifting the back of the head up towards the ceiling. So you're sort of spreading the shoulder blades apart, trying to lift the spine towards the shoulder blades, but without going into this round position. Focus on your breath, and we're just going to slowly hinge backwards, flexing at the hip, keeping nice and long through the spine. Think about your breath. Think about that control of the lower back and pelvis, so we don't just rock backwards and start to round. And then you're going to slowly extend your hips. Again, keeping that neutral pelvis and lower back, so think about what's happening there. And then slowly lower back. So we're just going to do just a couple of these, really, really slow, controlled. Think about those micro movements that might be happening in the lower back and spine and pelvis. We want to try and control those so this movement's just coming from the hip. Back into your midpoint and then lift up onto both hands. And again, into your quadruped, find your neutral, push the floor away. Make sure your spine's nice and long. And then we're just going to hinge backwards. and forwards, controlling the pelvis and the spine. Back and forwards. And then in this back position, I want you to just rotate one of the hands up to the ceiling. So come into your deep hinge. Just opening up the spine. Use your hand on the floor to sort of rotate you more. So you're going to push the floor downwards and you're going to rotate your body round. And then bring that hand back and take the opposite arm round. And then bring that hand back. Come forwards. And we're going to curl the feet under. Make sure we've got our neutral pelvis and lower back. And lift the bum and into the air, knees off the floor. And again, we're going to hinge the hips backwards, really nice and slow. Into our deep hinge in the bear. Nice and long through the upper back. Hold this position. Focusing on your breath. Walk your hands backwards into your squat. Nice and long through the spine. And stand. Find your neutral spine, neutral pelvis. Focus on your breath and then slowly down into your squat. Trying to keep the spine nice and long. And slowly up, controlling what's happening in the pelvis on the way up. And then slowly down. And up. So just in your own time, standing and squatting. Controlling what's happening in your pelvis. Do a couple more. Okay, come into your stand position after this last squat. And you're going to tilt your head downwards, start to curve the spine, so vertebrae by vertebrae, drop your hand down towards the floor and then roll back up. So reverse peeling the spine. And then go again, so taking the head down and just inching the hands down towards the feet. Bend your knees if you need to. You don't have to do this with straight legs, as I am not. And then do one more. Walk your hands out into your bear. Down onto both knees. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the feet out to the side, and then we're just going to hinge backwards into our tall sit. And then hinge forwards and bring the hands forwards. Take the legs to the opposite side, hinge backwards into tall sit. So just keep doing that now in your own time. And try and be nice and long through the spine when you come into the tall sit, so you're not curved. Really nice little bit of a mobility workout for your hips. And then from this tall sit, put one hand on the floor and then bring the leg round into your tripod. And we're just going to do some really slow, controlled tripod hinges. Only go as far as that back knee will allow. So if you've got sore knees, you might only be able to go a little bit of a distance backwards. That doesn't matter. Just go to your range. Focus on your breath. Try and pull your thoughts away from whatever it is you're thinking about other than your breath. If you're thinking about your breath, perfect. Think about the movement as well. Think about where you're feeling this movement, and then come into your deep hinge and then just rotate up towards the ceiling again. And bring that hand down and rotate the opposite way. Come up into your high kneel, pelvis level with the floor, neutral spine, foot out to the side so we're not too narrow, and just do some gentle hinges backwards. Nice and slow, control that movement. Feel that stretch down the front leg. Let's do one more. And then we're going to go up into our stand, so in your own time now, back foot curled under, pelvis level with the floor, neutral spine, and just stand, keeping that knee tracking the second and third toe. And then when we bring that leg backwards, make sure it's not too narrow, and we're keeping those legs, that knee tracking the second and third toe at the front, keeping the pelvis level with the floor. Try not to let it shoot out to the side, so if you need something to put your hand on to help guide you up, that's absolutely fine. Ooh, lost my balance there. Just do one more. Put that hand back down to the floor. So once you've gone down into your high kneel, bring the front leg back into your high oblique sit, up into your tall oblique sit. Bring your knees up to the ceiling, into your tall sit, and then rotate to the opposite side. And then just do a few rotations of the hip now, side to side. Making sure that we keep nice and tall in the tall sit, so we're not rounded through the upper back. And then come to the opposite side. Put the hand down. Bring that back leg round into your tripod. And then we're going to do some tripod hinges on this side. Feel that nice stretch down that front leg. Bring your thoughts to your breath and the movement. Nice, slow and controlled. And then come into your deep hinge and you're just going to rotate in one direction. And then rotate the opposite direction. Up into your high kneel, level pelvis with the floor, neutral spine, we're going to hinge backwards. Nice, slow and controlled. Feel that nice stretch down the front leg. Just do a couple more of these. And then come round, back up into your high kneel. Make sure you're not too narrow, foot out to the side, pelvis level, neutral spine, curl the back foot under and stand. So in your own time now. We're nearly done, just a few of these just to finish it off. Pelvis level. And I'm almost bang on time today. Try and make sure that knee is always tracking that second and third toe, so we don't want it to collapse inwards, we don't want the pelvis to shoot out to the side. Think about your breath, that will really help control that movement. Just do a couple more on this side. When you've done your last one, we're going to finish.